There's legislation that makes the transporting of waste unlawful. The next thing to consider is exactly what is the definition of waste. Waste is any substance that has been discarded, surplus or abandoned. But the really important thing here is to think about in whose state of mind is this substance regarded as being waste. For example, and a really good example to use is a house that's being demolished. So the person demolishes the house and the bricks and mortar that are left on the ground, lying around, would be regarded by that landowner as being surplus or abandoned concrete and demolition waste. But then there's another party that's going to collect that waste and take it somewhere else to build a road. Now that person who's building the road wouldn't regard that concrete and demolition waste and all of that rubble as being discarded, abandoned or surplus. So the courts have had to give some serious thought as to whose state of mind they're going to take on board in learning or in defining exactly when items are waste.
Right, and given the concept that what may be discarded to one person may not be discarded to another person, whose intention or state of mind have the courts followed?
Well, in a recent Court of Appeal decision, the Court of Criminal Appeal have decided that it's actually the generator or the owner of the waste. So in the example I was referring to, Jackie, we're talking about the person who owns the house, who has had that house demolished and has had left over the bricks and mortar and the rubble that are on the ground. It will be that person the court will have regard for. It will not be the person who is coming to collect that waste or the concrete to go and use it to build a road.
And finally, Kelly, what will concrete and demolition companies that transport materials such as C&D waste need to be mindful of?
Well, they'll need to be really careful. They'll need to do one of two things. They'll need to make sure that it's actually transported to a facility that is lawfully allowed to accept that waste, or they'll need to make inquiries with the generator of the waste or the landowner in the example I gave you as to that person's state of mind and their intention as to how they regard the concrete and demolition waste, as to whether or not they regard it as being abandoned, surplus or discarded.
Thanks so much for joining us, Kelly.
Thank you, Jackie.